Be absolutely lightning. The KTM does deliver a very good power package. Also Darian Kaiser. In fact, at this racetrack, we've got a chance of seeing 2 Supersport bikes running 1 and 2.
I'm also just checking a few technical aspects while I'm talking to you, Matt. You can hear me, you can hear the director, and hopefully no sound effects anymore. The sound effects have been called out, so that's really good to see, and that's exactly what we needed from the start. We've now got it sorted for race 1 of SuperM. SuperM Championship has been wrapped up, as you said, and our champion is actually not even on the grid. Levy is there, and he is in second place, as you picked up on. It's Darian Kaiser in third, the Uncle Andy's man. And look, oh, sorry, he is on the grid, but he is not on his motorcycle. He's standing in his Uncle Andy's racing short jean pant there for Kyle Robinson, with the Movember going on as well. We'll see him in action in about a couple of minutes' time when he steps up for the first time into SuperGP.
And what a ride yesterday. Kyle, got to say, cracker of a qualifying and an even better Super Pole. Way to wave the flag for the guys and show where you can go. It's all about moving on up.
Levy's the man to watch out for.
Well, check those eyes.
Yeah, certainly got the race face on there for sure. And Teddy Brook just behind. That's the first bike on the second row, the Brook Refrigeration Kawasaki ZX10. Also a very quick man around here. Spent a couple of laps over the previous few weekends here too, after doing some of the endurance races here. But I mentioned the fact that Alan John, you said to him that he's going to be the first Supersport mounted rider to get a pole position. He's also come from an amazing effort at the Macau Grand Prix over the last 2 weeks, where he was able to finish 15th amongst the top road racers in the world. And that's the kind of pace he can get out of his Wiesenhof triumph, as opposed to the teasers triumph. The teaser scores were there. Great to see them coming around.
And that's the difference. I mean, if we actually had papers in front of us telling us what his previous lap times were, he's probably able to find between half and a full 1 second on this new machine. And we know that as well. I've ridden the old bike, I've compared it to the new, and it's not just the power delivery, it's the front end stability. It's much better on the turn in.
Yeah, just speaking about that, just to give you an example of what's happening with that too, just from the viewer's point of view and for everybody sitting in the audience. It is a 675 3-cylinder Daytona Triumph that he's on. It is the R version of that. So in other words, it's a slightly modified version of the stock bike that comes out from Triumph South Africa. But the reason he's gone to SuperM is that you're allowed to ride that in SuperM. The current rules in 600s don't allow you to, but they do from 2015, which is why he has gone and ridden SuperM for the last round to get the development done.
Word to the wise on one of the other stories that we've been picking up on the whole way through the SuperM Championship in 2014. Janine Davies, one of the early podiums, and unfortunately a string of crashes throughout the year. This one, unfortunately, at the very last round has ruined her chance of a bikini tan this time, because she's gone and broken her wrist yesterday in qualifying and a very heavy hematoma on the opposite elbow. So we wish her the best of luck. We saw all the Twitter feeds and Facebook feeds going up last night. All thumbs up, even though they're in casts, but she is all good, and unfortunately one of the riders missing from racing today.
And what will happen with that in terms of the championship, man, is going to drop her out of a top 5 finish, which is a big pity for her and a little bit of a concern, I think, from the team. But you know what, they're more concerned about the fact that she gets well and sorted out for 2015. Speaking of championship, we said that Kyle Robinson is out of it, but second place is still very much up for grabs. It's the portable shade Kawasaki of Justin Gillison, who hangs on to an 8-point lead over Levy on the KTM. So that is the fight we're going to be watching for on track. It's the 46 portable shade Kawasaki fighting out with the 99 Motors Clarkstorp KTM.
And there are ramifications as well, because we know, you and I have seen the results coming in the whole way through the year. The guys that run well, funny enough, are the 2 guys in shot right now, Levy and Teddy Brook. They run much better lap times than Justin Gillison, as does Darian Kaiser. So you're going to see a lot of traffic in between the guys that really need to get himself up there. In fact, the second half of the season, Gillison has been sadly missing from the podium more often than not.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's also had a bit of a tough time of it, Matt. But we are going to be looking forward to seeing him fighting it here at a track that has usually boded well for the Portable Shade Kawasaki team. I'm really looking forward to seeing if he can take this championship battle up to the front end with Levy and Teddy Brook. I think if Alan John gets off the line, like he normally does on this Triumph, there's a good possibility he's going to run and hide. Remember, we've got a 12-lap race here, so let's have a look see if we can actually get that right this time.
All right, let's call this out. Pole shot goes to AJ. Kaiser will go with it. How close on the money am I? Oh, it looks like Bu's got a cracker of a one. Levy. Pole
shots. Can you believe that? Well, look at that. The drive around the outside of the mid KTM. He's going to come back on the inside now, heading into turn 2. Watch the little squirt work down the inside. Oh, AJ had a big look there, but wasn't quite close enough. And Kaiser's there too, the two 600 riders, all over the back of Bew Levy.
Yeah, these have always been the fast starters the whole way through the season, and Bew, like we said, he has been looking for a race win. And look at the power delivery of that KTM. It is so strong, it just grunts and fires out. It has got a real good turning. You can really dance on the throttle mid-turn, so you can almost ride that KTM a la super sport style. And that's why Bew is going to be up there. As long as he can lead up the main straight, he's going to stretch out a big lead. And I think we're going to see Bew walk away with the win.
I hope so. That's exactly what he needs to do, because if you look at where his championship rival is in terms of position coming into this round, Justin Gillison is ahead of him in the championship. But right now, Justin Gillison is second last in this race, down in 7th place.
The big guy, he just cannot get off the line. He runs good and he builds pace. At the moment, he has got a ton of people in front of him. We're coming to the end of the dog bone section, in fact the halfway mark of the dog bone section, but this is where the super sport bikes are really good. They tend to build pace the whole way through here, but it's going to be super hard to try and get a wheel at the inside. AJ is clever. He's going to sit and try and get a toe for as long as he can under the back wheel of that KTM. Bew's a big gate as well, as is the bike, so he's going to be able to really cut a nice hole through the air for him.
All right, let me just throw in another little spanner in the works here, like I like to do in these kind of races, because Darian Kaiser on the Uncle Andy's Kawasaki is right there as well, and he's in the slipstream with Alan John Fenter. So Alan John Fenter and Darian Kaiser trying to maintain, and they haven't lost a hell of a lot of ground there, but I thought they'd lose a lot more.
No, because they are going to go a very deep line on the brakes as well. We have got full timing, which is fantastic, so we're going to be able to keep an eye on these guys as they do the 12 laps. Now becomes 11, one lap in the bag. It is Bew Levy on the Moto Clerkstop KTM that leads out over the Wiesenhof Triumph, the new 675R. And that's from the end of the circle. I'm going to tell you, Greg, talking to a couple of the 600 guys, mainly their mom's actually telling me the outside of the track is extremely dirty today.
Oh, on the inside though, throwing down the gauntlet is AJV. Alan John Fenter sneaks through and gets to the lead. And now can he try and use the corner speed of the Triumph to get away from the big KTM?
It's not just corner speed, that KTM is pretty hard to get stopped as well. And he actually notices that more often than not, Bew is going to get beat up badly by these kids because they can go much deeper, the bikes are so much lighter, and they stop easier than the big tank that is the KTM. That thing weighs a lot, man.
Look at Darian Kaiser. I was actually on the point about Darian Kaiser when the lead changed up there, but Darian Kaiser is a man to look out for on the circuit, because remember, he has been fighting also in the Endurance Series this season. He's been on a big BMW, and he's been fighting in the Northern Regions Championships and won the Northern Regions Championship as well in terms of the 600cc class. So he has got pace on this bike and can absolutely haul around here. So look out for him to sneak through and possibly spoil the day there for Bew to see if he's able to take a victory here.
Just to tell you, from a standing start, Bew threw down a 1:59, so he means business and he can run some good lap times. But I think we're going to see the top three guys next time around on a full flying lap. They're going to get probably running around about a 56, maybe 57 marker. The good news and the story as it unfolds on the circuit right now is that 1, 2, and 3 are not getting closed down. Teddy Brook is the man in no man's land. Then it's Gilly. So Gilly has made up some ground. He's got through on Kruger and he's starting to climb the ladder. Neil van Longenberg has been left behind. But really in the background, you need to see the portable shade kind of buy-in ride that we spoke about coming out of Justin Gillison. He needs to get past Brooks, and that's going to be tricky, man.
No, not an easy rider to get through. Remember,
Brooks, should I say.
Teddy Brook is trying to get into the top 5 and demote Janine Davies out of that top 5 in the championship. He's in the top 5 on the road right now. As you can see, it's only about a second between the two of them. So the first 3 battle at the Royal between the two 600s and the big RC8.
Let's check this out as well, because we need to really see if there's any advantage for Bew. You know, that time around, he didn't close up on AJ up the big straight. He just did not get it done. He closes up, but on the brakes, he brakes so much earlier that there isn't an advantage to be had. So it's going to be a real big ask to see if Bew can actually get through on AJ. At the moment, there are too many advantages getting played out for the man that holds front.
Exactly. And you've caught yourself out again there. I'm going to do it all day, so are you. It's Bew. We eventually got a time. They come down on the braking markers though. Look at Alan John Fenter. Extremely late on the brakes. Bew is trying hard to get up that inside, but he isn't able to just get that wheel in between himself and the Triumph, and he's lost a little bit of ground. Now, if AJ can keep this up, the possibility is he'll probably hang on to this win on the Wiesenhof Triumph, and the Moto's Klerksdorp man is going to be found wanting. But keep an eye on Darian Kaiser. He is only a second off, and and he's just waiting to pounce. If something goes wrong between those first two, Kaiser will certainly be up, and it'll be a well-deserved one to take a victory in this class.
This is the section of the track where I expect to see Bew kind of build up the pace. He does. Like the entry to the dog bone section, he's a little bit lazy, but from this point he really starts to crack it wide open. But he's going to have to get on the gas a little bit earlier because the 600s carry massive mid-corner. Everyone's looking over the shoulders to see where they are. But this is where you should see the extra grunt of the KTM come through, and come through easily. He comes up to the back wheel, but he's not able to make the pass.
And I think he's actually waiting, because he could have made the pass there pretty easily, I thought.
And he came from a long way back. So, you know, if he comes on the back wheel of AJ Fenter, out of the big sweep at the bottom of the hill to set you up for the highway, he's going to know whether the pass is on or not. And once you've made that pass at the top of the hill, there is no fight back.
No, you're not going to be able to get it until you come into turn 2. Set those up for turn 1, and you should get into turn 2 and make it stick. And by that stage, it'll be too late if it's on the last lap.
Our graphics are correct, Craig, just so you can take your calming pills. 9 laps to go, that is confirmation. AJ Fender does lead out ahead of Levy, Kaiser, Brook, Gillison. Kricker is down there, and Loganberg is starting to tickle the 2-minute bracket.
Beginning of the weekend, he was into the 5s. He's down into the 1s, which is really great to see. And Neil van Rockenberg, second of those RC8s out there, doing a super job. He's not quite on the same pace as Johnny Kricker, but I think the two of them are back in for 6th and 7th.
Yeah, especially the way they're locked into times. I mean, those guys are matched. It looks like they came across the stripe actually straddling each other, because the time is identical. Right now, 1, 2, and 3, nicely managed and just being controlled at the front by AJ Fenter. And he is on for history, and it's going to be a great way for him to round out his season. He has had a cracker of an international season by his own standards, not the best full national season. That's why we see him actually stepping out of his category, which is the Super 600s, into the Super M's. But this is going to be a great way to underline his skills.
It's really super to see this, and Darren Kaiser, as I said earlier on, has had a fantastic season, winning the Northern Regions Championship. He was part of the team that took the Odin 4, 8, and 12 Endurance Series here at Redstar Raceway, and he's also had some phenomenal races here in Super M, so it'll be well deserved, as I said, to get him up to the podium. He's been there already, but it'll be even better if you get onto the top of the podium at some point.
Okay, Gilly is doing what I didn't expect to see him do. He is finding pace, he's really regrouping quite nicely and coming up on the back wheel of Brook. And that shot in the background there just shows why we were talking about those numbers coming out of Johnny Kricker and Loganberg as equal. We couldn't even see Loganberg. He was just a vented trailer on the back wheel of Johnny Cricker's Kawasaki.
Certainly was. Could have been a diamond too. Go through there. It is a battle here for potential top 5 championship honours. Remember that championship, as we said at the beginning of the race, is done and dusted, and that rider is no longer involved in this championship battle. He's now decided to go and fight it out with the SuperGP boys. So we'll see them in a few minutes' time. But looking at the way the championship came in here, as I said, 8 points between Gillison and Bew Levy. Levy's doing it all right to close that gap and probably overtake him if he stays where he is right now, looking at the way the points position is, or might just be down to about 2 or 3 points going into the last one for that second place. Teddy Brook is certainly going to overtake Janine Davies. She's only 10 points behind, so if Teddy stays where he is, there's a possibility that Janine will then drop out of that top 5 hunt.
AJ Fenter is looking to extend out of the magic 1 second. Last time around he had 0.9, so he's just got a crumb to go. And you and I both know, in racing terms, if you can snap that 1 second bracket, it's going to be very hard to get the job done. And now Bew Levy has to turn his attention to the back, because it's at this point of the race where Kaiser is building his own pace and he's getting the moves on.
Now, if you're Bew Levy, and I'm going to throw this at you, and you've got 2 600 riders that are not really involved in this championship, I think there's a good possibility you're going to let him go if he does make a move.
Oh, look, Bew's a racer. He's had a lot of experience through his years as well. He's got a lot of laps on SA soil. But you know what? I think you're right. He's probably going to allow the guys to go. At the same time, he wants a race and he wants a dice. And he is able to out-accelerate Kaiser. So Kaiser is not able to run the exact same power coming out of the big sweeper at the bottom. He is a little bit down on gas, and that's why he's not going to be able to do the big outbreak. So I expect Bew to be able to actually stay ahead of Kaiser. Even if Kaiser wants to start throwing a wheel, Bew, I think, has got the pace to stay out front. Teddy Brook and Gilly, they're both on the 158s, although that lap a little bit slower than the previous, a 158.3 versus a 158.2. And these guys are having a draw out there. This is the battle for 4th place on the road.
It's 4th place on the road. It is for 2nd place in the championship. That's Justin Gillison. He holds that 2nd place in the championship right now, but down there in 5th place, it's only going to give him 11 points. Bulevy, sitting in 3rd place, is going to be scoring 16 points. So he's going to make up 3 points of the 8 deficit. So it'll be 5-point deficit going into the last round, the last race of this last round.
You know, we need to actually start mentioning manufacturers as well. That means we're going to have championship winners all on Kawasaki's.
Good possibility, yes indeed. An amazing bit of riding there. That is really great to see. Very
Sometimes sweep across the fact that Carl Robinson runs a ZX10, but he does.
Yeah, he
At
does.
the end of the day, that's the bike.
Yeah, he does. And of course, Stephen Udall, as we mentioned in the first race, has already taken that title for Kawasaki. So there is a very good possibility of a clean sweep for the Kawasaki brand.
And we'll have to speak to Chris Bates, and hopefully he can hear us, and hopefully we'll get online and do a little bit of twittering and twattering around to find out if that has actually happened across the world, because by my count, I don't think it's on.
But let's have a look and see if we can get that all sorted out by the end of the day's racing. SuperGP Champions Trophy, as you can see, like us on Facebook, we're on Facebook, we're on WeChat, we're also on www.supergp.co today, and of course on Twitter at SA_SuperGP.
As always here with 7 laps to go, the middle of the Super M race does tend to calm itself down, especially when we've got less entries than we normally do, but the gap between 1 and 2 has grown. It was 1.8. It should be around about 2 seconds now. AJ Fenter is running and hiding. He is making history here. He's already his number 1 win. Should things stay as they are, look at that. He is not only, last lap it was 1.8 ahead, he is now 2.6. He is hammering these boys.
Yeah, he's just getting away. He's getting the job done at the front end, as he would normally do in a 600 race if he was there. And on occasions in the Northern Regions Championship, on a very similar drive, his own 675 without the R, he has taken victories here. So this will be really good to see, and hopefully it all goes well for the Wiesenhoff Racing Triumph 675 Daytona R.
And while we're watching this 4th place battle, a word to the wise here. So Teddy Brook and Justin Gillison, pretty much equal machinery, both on current model Kawasaki ZX10Rs, so we know these things punch. But Gilly has got away about 35 to 40 kgs more than Teddy Brook when he's ringing wet.
Teddy Brook is no slouch. He's probably the oldest rider we have in this current championship, and he knows how to get around this circuit. I had the chance of playing with him last weekend in the 12-hour, and when he comes past you, even though he gives you a wave, he is not slow at all.
No, nothing. AJ, nothing but a number, but the numbers, unfortunately, are not in the hands of Justin Gillison. Gillison, he's got to be weighing around about 115, maybe 120 kgs, whereas Teddy Brook, power to weight ratio, you know, he's probably kicking around about 70, maybe 75 maximum. So Teddy's going to be able to hang on there. And normally Teddy actually gets faster towards the end of a race. He's one of those guys that's got incredible endurance.
And also he's got the ability to build his pace right up to the crucial point. So he peaks at the right time, and hopefully that's exactly what's going to happen from his point of view. But Justin Gillison, I'm sure, is thinking, no, I can't let that happen. I've got to try and get past him. And maybe just put it a little bit earlier on. Loses a little bit of ground there. The Brook Refrigeration Kawasaki seems to have a little bit more legs down the main straightaway on the Portable Shade Kawasaki.
On the brakes though, Gilly does do a good job. He's a big, strong rider, so he doesn't mind loading up his arms. You can see that Bo is just controlling the 2nd place battle, but this is giving all the advantage to AJ Fender. 2.7 second lead, you just saw him flash through, but there is absolutely nothing separating you and Dazzler.
Dazzler's right there, all over the way, all over the back of that KTM, and has a look on the inside of turn 3.
He's just frustrated at the moment. You can see he closes up so much on entry corner, but on the way out he's just getting drilled, and that's what the Kawasaki is all about. Very quick on the throttle and grunty as you like. Very balanced as well, doesn't tend to spin up.
I like the way that he's looking for a maneuver through and looking for a way past. Speaking of Chris Bate, there he is, out on circuit doing some photography for CSI Images.
Yeah, I just saw the Indiana Jones hat there.
Yes, indeed, and you couldn't see him that much because he's got a lot of camo on today. But he's out there getting the shots, because this is live from Redstar Raceway. It's race 1 of Super M. We're picking up with 5 laps to go. It's a 675 Triumph Daytona R that leads things out, and in 2nd place the big RC8. And the KTM brand looking good, not only here in Super M, but also for 2015, as they look to join the SuperGP Champions Trophy with the RC390s and the Super Junior Series in 2015.
Going to be a lot of talk going on about that, and fantastic to hear the numbers coming out from Vaughan Swanepoel from KTM SA. It looks like we are really going to have a good feeder class coming out of Northern Regions and regional championships throughout the country into the full-blown national junior category. It's great to see, because remember, all these guys want the stepping stones. You go out of that and you start climbing the ladder, and that's where we're going to be going after this. We already had first heat of the Super 600s. This is first heat of the Super Amps. After this, we will have the grid walk before we go into heat number 1 of the Super GPs, and realistically, that's why we're all here today. We've got one more championship to nail down.
Could possibly be wrapped up after race number 1. Champions t-shirts and all the fan livery is going to be out there. Alan John Fenton now has moved up to 3.11 ahead of Levy and Darian Kaiser. Darian Kaiser, well within shooting range there. He's half a second off the back end of Levy's KTM. And if he's able to do what Alan John was able to do through the twisties, he's got to make it in the twisties to get that little edge over the KTM to beat him on straight.
In my mind, it has to be an ugly pass. You've got to actually take the rider wide, because you can't allow him to get the bike stood up and screw it back, because you are so outsmoked on horsepower. It is unreal. 600 versus an 1190 machine. It's got so many more ponies, and the power delivery is right at the bottom end there. Those KTMs fire out of corners super hard. We're concentrating on the battle for 4th place at the moment as Gilly is trying to build his pace. I cannot see a sector on the track where he is head and shoulders stronger. He is hotter on the brakes, but there isn't a particular corner where he looks like he's getting the job done.
What I'm seeing is he is very good on the brakes, like we've just seen in that shot right now, but he's not able to put the wheel up and actually get on the inside to show Teddy that he's actually there. Teddy's not worried. Terry is just keeping it smooth as silk as always. And it's up to Justin to find that way past him.
This is the closest he's been, and there's a sense of urgency coming out of the 46 bike rider, Justin Gillison, on the mighty portable shade Kawasaki, and he is definitely starting to build up and find the pace to get himself going. He's got to make a big pass. Unfortunately, it's not here. This is where the bigger rider does not benefit. He's got a good wheel, he's got a good drive, and a great line. But Teddy Brook weighs absolutely nothing, and he stretches the legs up the straight.
That's why he's able to get that additional bit of squirt on the Kawasaki ZX-10 that he's on. Gillison closes on the brakes again, but he's trying very hard on the brakes to find a way through. Going to be coming across the line now, as you hear just in the background. Alan John has just crossed the line. He's now 3.5 seconds ahead.
Lovely sounding bike that.
Yes, and the 3 laps to go.
And the gap is 3.5 seconds. This is all on for 2nd place. The battle is still going on between Blue Levy and Darian Kaiser. We stay with Morgan 5 right now, because it is all on, and this is the man that we've been speaking about. We've been checking out the numbers. Gillison, the 2nd man in shot right now on the bright green portable shade Kawasaki. He is trying to climb the ladder and nail down 2nd place in this championship. 1st place will be wrapped up. We'll be talking about Carl Robinson as a rookie later on today.
I'm looking forward to that, that is for sure. As they stand, it's going to be 2nd. That'll take you to 163 points. Of course, when we look at Justin Gillison on 155, he sits down there in what is 5th place. That is going to move him up into 66. Close.
Still a bit of a heartbreaker that we didn't have more people lining up for the final round. A lot of events going on at the end of the year, and everyone smoked their tire budget, but this is how it is, especially if the guys aren't in it for the championship. We had a lot of support in this category from the coastal heroes earlier in the year, and it's been just fantastic to have them along for the ride. But when we go local up onto the Highveld, we always tend to lose a few riders along the way. We have had some key players joining the party, and big names throughout history as well coming back into the race. I'm talking about like Robbie Breakspear, people like that. Great to see. Still on. The 2nd place battle is nowhere near wrapped up though.
I think Darian is going to try and spoil the day here. He wants to be the 2nd man on the podium.
Burying himself behind the screen there.
He's trying to get everything he can out of that ZX6 as he comes up, but he's losing that little bit of ground. As I said, you've got to get him into the twisties and break the margin that is at the end of that main straightaway.
2 laps to go. The board goes out. 2 official laps to go as the screamer followed by the thumper. But I know it's not a single, yes, so no purist call me up on that. I know you're not supposed to call that, but it's the sound it makes. That's what I'm referring to. The KTM RC8R.
Lovely to see that big V-twin in it and giving it everything she can. It's really, really good to see Darian Kaiser giving it everything he can to stay with New Levy. But I don't know if he's going to find a way past pass unless he can find. It's got to happen here.
Yeah,
it's
early
got to happen
stages.
here.
First sector of the track, probably between turns 2, 3, and 4. He's got to get the job done. But this short straight and all the little short straights, they must be breaking his heart, because he just gets absolutely drilled out of every single one of them. He's real good here through the triple left-hander, but down this, what we call the short straight. That said, it's a top revs, 4th gear, sometimes 5th gear before you climb on the brakes at the bottom here, and that's where Bo is very strong.
Yeah, look at how Darian closes on the brakes. The lighter bike, the lighter man closes on the brakes. Bu's done it right though. If he stays where he is right now, there's going to be a 3-point deficit he has to try and bridge in race 2. And if it goes the same way as it does on occasion, like it has all season long, that means Bu will probably still be able to get 2nd place in this championship for the Motos KTM Clarksdorp team.
Yeah, he's been rock solid. He's been a proper gentleman the whole way through the season as well. It's been a little bit of a sad story that not more of the bot competitors who were able and open to come and run within the Super M standing for mixed in this case, and he could have actually won a standalone championship within a championship as well. And we're hoping to get a couple of those guys to join the party for next year and bolster the fields. We are definitely hoping for no less than 25 riders in each category at every round.
I don't want to say Darian's given up, but I think he's realized that he's not going to be getting that 2nd place, so he's going to settle for 3rd. And now on to the back straight for the 2nd last time. This is where Justin Gillison has got to start showing the maneuver.
He's running out of time, he's running out of options, and unfortunately, he's not looking very racy. I mean, it looks like he's just learning laps and learning times at the moment. He's not shoving it up there and going for the line.
As you say that, he comes across the line. He might have a go down into turn 1 now. He comes alongside Teddy Brook, shows the wheel up the inside, maybe setting things up for a little pass in this final lap. But he has to get ahead of Teddy to increase the margin that Bu has got to
This
try
is
and
where
get
I
in
would
the
go.
second one.
Oh, you could go there. You could definitely go, but you'd have to go late and deep and allow the other rider absolutely no turn-in option. There is the block line there, and you're not going to send someone out to the curb as well. You know, Teddy's got some skills. He'll be able to ride it out, but you're going to have to get way under someone and give them a bit of a scrub to get out of that one.
All right, so I'm going to throw a little thing into it right now as well. Alan John Fenter, super effort there from him on the Triumph. He's got to the front end. He's dominated. He's got the pole. He's going for the race 1 victory, but he's not involved in this championship. So he's literally going for a race win honors here. It will affect this championship ever so slightly. As I say that, we got Justin Gillison up the inside, but he can't make it stick.
You know what? He had that. He totally had that. He's being way too nice about this, and he's lost a lot of momentum in that move as well. We are on the last lap. I think he is completely out of options. He's trying to just bang it in late on the brakes. There are no more stop, start, stand still corners on this track.
Yeah, unless he can get it onto the back straight where they're heading right now, that's pretty much done and dusted for this race. But to finish my thought on Alan John, he's only well in the championship. He's going to take the race win, which is what he wanted to do coming here, which is fantastic. But Bu Levy could have scored an additional 5 points in this race had he not been here. And that would have taken him ahead in terms of the 2nd place championship battle for this race.
Exactly that. So there's still some maths to be worked out. We knew we were heading into this final round talking about 2nd place, but the flag is out and waiting. There's history. He already did it yesterday. The Super Sport machine on pole position for the Super M category. The whole way through 2014 has been 1000cc machines. Bu Levy gets 2nd place, but AJ takes the first win of the day. A great debut for him on a new bike for him, and the first time a Super Sport machine has taken the overall win flag to flag.
Yeah, awesome ride there from AJ Fenter coming out of Macau GP, the Ireland and road racer. Has now come back, got into Super M on a brand new machine. It's a 675R. He has taken a victory, which is exactly what he needed to do to sort out. He seems to be a bit worried about the front end, but maybe that'll get sorted out in the interim. He gives a big thumbs up there to Bu Levy, and yes, that is awesome stuff for Bu, because that also moves him now within 3 points of Justin Gillison. Gillison still hangs on to 2nd, but with only 3 points ahead of Bu Levy.
And I'm up for correction here, but the first national Triumph victory of 2014.
Yes, indeed.
All right, so great racing we have had all day long. Oh, sound like Yoda then for a second. We've had great racing the whole day through the day. Yesterday afternoon, the clouds started to pile in, and I'm seeing the exact same situation set up here. We're not even at lunchtime, and it's looking a little bit dodgy out there, Redstar Raceway. Sometimes at this time of year, gets cursed with those afternoon storms. We hope and pray that we will get away with the day and try and get itself up there. So, good show. top 3, banging home some big times as well. Fastest lap time coming out of AJ Fenter, a 1:56.9, a cracker of a lap coming out of him. It was a 1:57.5 out of Bu Levy, and Darian Kayser a 1:57.3. So good numbers coming out of these guys. Teddy Brook able to do a 1:57.7 ahead of Justin Gillison's 1:58.2, and in that 4th place battle, confirmation that Teddy Brook did stay ahead of Justin Gillison to take that 4th place. Johnny Cricker won out the in-house battle between himself and Neil van Loggenberg for the guys who are yet to break into the sub 2-minute bracket. The fastest of them, Johnny Cricker, a 2-minute dead 0.3 and a 2-minute dead 0.5 out of Neil van Loggenberg, but constant improvements from both of those riders, finishing 6th and 7th respectively in heat number 1. Race winner though, AJ Fenter, still on his cruise down lap on the 39 machine, and an incredible showing for the rider who has got a lot of talent, not only on circuits, street circuits, but also on the big island of the Isle of Man. Remember, after this, once we go down to the podium and catch up on the podium celebrations and reactions, we'll be going into the pit walk for the first heat of the Super GPs before we go into racing good and proper for the big guns, the Super GP Champions Trophy. Wonderful shot of the guys coming up the back straight, just allowing these bikes to cool off. 12 laps of racing, that is what they have had in hand. And then we're going to be going into the longest race of the day, 3rd heat of racing and 1st heat of the Super GPs. They will be up next. Bu Levy down here at the podium, pulling himself in there. He did a great job. A good hole shot for him. The Moto Klerksdorp man can get that thing fired off the line very nicely. Thank you very much. And he did a good race the whole way through. Race pace never dropped off. He had different people, different players to race with the whole way through. 2nd place, very, very important. And I know Greg, when we get down there and chats to him, will be picking up on the fact that he is climbing ever closer to a 2nd overall come the end of the season. Very important to stay ahead of Darian Kayser. Johnny Cricker pulling himself in there. He got himself into a solid finish, and all high fives and celebrations as AJ Fender, race winner, pulls on in, checks with his buddy and stablemate and good friend Johnny Cricker to see how he's done, and then a word to the wise from Dad. How close were those guys? Not close enough, AJ. Speaking to the Spanners, checking out the front end, not happy about something.
Hi, ladies and gents, here for Super M podium number 1. And yes, a bit of history in the making yesterday as Alan John Fenter made it the first Super Sport bike on pole position for the Super M category. He's now made it the first Super Sport bike to take a victory, and it's also Triumph South Africa's very first victory at national championship level here at Super GP, the final round at Redstar Raceway. So that's a magic effort from him. But we're going to have a lot of good efforts here from 3 riders that are on the podium. One is a very happy man by the look of the smile coming out of that showy helmet of Darian Kayser. He's had a busy season. As I said, winning the Northern Regions Championship. He's now got onto the podium, and he's about to get up there into 3rd place for the Uncle Andy's DNA Kawasaki team. Let's hear it for the Dazzler, Darian Kayser. In 2nd place. And moving to within 3 points of his championship rival for 2nd place in this championship. Bu Levy has done an amazing job. The Moto's KTM looks very good out there, but it's still one more race to try and decide who is going to be 2nd place in this championship for Bu. Let's get him onto 2nd place right now. That's where he wants to be at the end of the day. Bu Levy! He started the season fighting in Northern Regions Championships. He's come to Super GP and played in the Super 600s, and now has decided to start developing his bike for 2015. It's the Triumph 675R. He put it on pole yesterday, and as I said, that was the first time that a 600 has been on pole. He's now taken the first victory, not only in the 600 class for Super M, but it's Triumph's first victory as well. It's Alan John Fenter, our road racing ace. And 3rd place going to be handed out by Mr. Wayne Riddell from Motorsport South Africa to Darian Kayser. Second place will be Lachlan Harris from the Amid Association. Great to have him here today. He'll be handing it to Bo Levy, or Miss Levy. That's really cool to see. And yeah, what a fitting way to do this, AJ. The big boss of Triumph is here, and he's going to hand you your medal for the first victory for Triumph South Africa. Arnold Littlefield, Alan John Fenter. So that's how it ended up in our first heat of Super M's. Let's go and find out from these riders what it was like out on circuit. It certainly is changeable conditions that we're playing with here today. Going to start things out here with the Dazzler. Darian, that was a bit of a tough one. I know you tried to throw it up the inside on numerous occasions to get up that KTM's inside, but it's not an easy bike to pass. I'm going to ask AJ just how difficult it was. But you certainly were within the hunt, and I think a little bit of squeezing and maybe a little bit of a dirty move could see you get through and up onto the second place on the podium.
Yeah, you know, that KTM becomes extremely wide, especially with Bo on. And to AJ, I don't know how he managed to pull that off and make it stick, but yeah, AJ rode really well, and so did Bo. I just want to say huge thanks to my sponsors, Uncle Andy himself, my dad, my family, RNA Distributors, ANA Distributors, of course Uncle Andy Racing, and DNA Motorcycles. Thanks guys so much.
We're going to go into the second race now. Good possibility of getting onto that second step of the podium, but it means that you're going to start interfering in that second place championship battle. That's not what you're worried about. You'd like to be where AJ is.
Yeah, you know, I think race 2, I think we need to probably try to stay with AJ from the word go, because we've seen once he gets to the front, he's an extremely hard man to catch. So, yeah, thanks guys so much again.
We'll see you in race number 2.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. Let's go on to Bu quickly and see how things went out there. Bu, it's been a tough season so far. Janine, unfortunately, no longer involved in this championship due to a crash yesterday, but you still have a job to do because you came in with an 8-point deficit. It's now down to 3 points between yourself and Justin Gillison. Gilly still leads out. You've got to try and do this again and maybe even beat the man behind us here.
Yeah, it's tough to beat him. I'll try and catch him. I tried to stick with him. I just couldn't get any traction in mid-corner. We'll work on the suspension some more. This is not my best track. I don't ride here often. But we'll try for the second race. My aim is really to get second in the championship, so let's see what happens.
I wish you all the very best. It was a great battle between yourself and the little 600s out there. They are difficult to keep away, aren't they?
Yes, the tight sections, they are so quick. In the straights, I'm so glad I can rest and just pull out without working. Then I have to work in the corner, so that helps me.
You're looking forward to the second race, though?
Yeah, no, it's going to be fun. Last race of the season is always fun.
Brilliant stuff. Great job for second place. Let's go to our top man now. Wow, bud, you put some history in motion yesterday with the first Supersport bike to take a podium in Super M. You're now looking at an opportunity of doing it a double here today. That'll just be the perfect weekend, considering this is a development weekend for this bike.
Yeah, Greg, you know, I've ridden this bike once before the weekend. Obviously, the Triumph is for the 600 class. So it was a good experiment, and it's nice to, obviously, Darian's on a 600 and the KTM, we all know a 1000 is quicker than a 600. But I think we're moving forward, and a big thank you to Arnold, you know, from Triumph for the opportunity to ride the Super M. You know, he understands what we're doing. And thank you to my team, to Visenhoff, you know, to my mechanics. And yeah, we see what happens in race 2.
Race 2 is going to be a tough one because I think, as you heard from Bu's interview, he's trying to get that second place wrapped up over Justin Gillison. So he's probably going to give you a little bit more or a harder run than what you had right now.
That's fun, because the faster everybody else goes, then the faster we've got to make the Triumph.
Awesome to see a Triumph at the top for the first time this season too.
Yeah, no, it'll be good. And like I say, because we're doing a development thing, you know, we'll make a good few changes now. And I think we'll drop it to 56 as a second race.
Awesome stuff. That's what we've got from our top 3 in Super M race number 1. Back to Matt in the studio. So should we start that again, Matt? I think that
Yeah.
might be a good idea.
Yeah,
We
let's
start
do
it
that.
again.
Let's do that.
Yes, welcome back to Monster
Control,
Energy
Alt,
Super
Delete.
GP Champions Trophy. Control Alt Delete. Try turning it off and on again, and we did. So we are now back with race number 2 of Super M, which is about to kick off, as you can see, in approximately 2 minutes' time.
On for another 12-lapper, that's confirmed, and it's going to be hot. We are seeing the wind pick up, like I was talking about. The sun has finally broken through, but as we know, we are on cue to watch the skies come 3 o'clock when we go to our feature race, heat number 2 of the SuperGP Champions Trophy. But right now, Greg, we've been doing some number crunching.
Yes,
Well, I've been watching you do some number crunching, let's be fair, but I'd like to claim it.
Listen, it's a team game.
There's no I in pie.
But there isn't teammates. Right, it's Alan John Venter who leads down into turn number 1. He is race 1 winner. Now, he's not normally a Super M rider if you're joining us for the first time here on the warm-up lap of the second race of Super M. He's a man who normally participates in Super 600s, but due to the fact that he is developing a 675R Triumph Daytona, he is now in Super M and took race 1 victory. Second place on the road right there and moving to first place is the KTM RC8, the 99 Moto Clarksdorp machine of Bew Levy. Bew Levy currently is in third place in the championship, but he is only 3 points back from Justin Gillison, who's also on track on the 46 Portable Shade Kawasaki.
Yeah, Gilly is in trouble. He's actually been in trouble the whole second half of this season, not bringing home the podiums as he should. There's been a lot of different people taking a ton of points away from him. In fact, if Justin actually steps back from the season, he will actually see that it's the guest riders that have taken a lot of points.
Cost him dearly, there's no doubt about that one. But looking at the points, he still is second coming into this one. So something has to go wrong with Bew Levy for him to maintain second place in this championship. Third place, as we said, is Bew Levy. But fourth place, incredibly, after race number 1 and his third place on the podium, Darian Kaiser has moved ahead of both Janine Davies and Teddy Brooke into fourth place on 132 points. Teddy Brooke has moved ahead of the young lady that we mentioned, Janine Davies, unfortunately crashing out yesterday in our qualifying session and breaking her wrist, but a speedy recovery we're asking for her, and hopefully back on a bike as soon as possible. But Teddy Brooke has now moved up into 5th place on 129 points.
Now remember, we've come into this round with the Super M Championship already wrapped up by Carl Robinson. We'll speak a little bit more about him later on. Suffice to say, he has stepped out. So there is chances, and already a chance has been taken by AJ Fender to take heat number 1 win and to take pole position. We now head into heat number 2. We may see even more history made if AJ can go on the double. But what really needs to happen here is for Bew Levy to finish at least 2 positions ahead of Gilly, no matter what.
And he did that in the first race. So if he just does exactly the same and repeats for race number 1, that will be good enough for Bew Levy to take that KTM into second place in Super M in the championship. They come to line up. You can see Alan John Fenter, last bike round that final corner, coming through along with Darian Kaiser to take up his position, which is second on the grid for the second start, because Bew Levy got a second fastest lap time, which was slightly quicker than AJ's.
Yeah, I was with you there. Yeah, exactly. So we know that the KTM fires good off the line, as does AJ Fender. Wasn't a great start for AJ in heat number 1. He will be able to wax that this time around, and he gets a good run, as does Kaiser. So the top 3 are going to be running hot and hard, and it is Bew Levy that gets 2 whole shots out of 2 starts. Good running and a lot of confidence now carried forward. Importantly, you've got to go back to 6th place to pick up on the big guy.
Yeah, Justin Gillison not getting a good start again, and that is going to be costly, because with Bew Levy in the lead, there is more than enough space to wrap up second place. But that's what we'll watch out for, the entire 12 laps of action coming your way right now on live streaming. Alan John Fenter looks behind him, looks to see where Darian Kaiser is. Kaiser did mention on the podium after race number 1 that he wanted to try and go with Alan John, because if he doesn't, Bew Levy might get away. Teddy Brooke has done it all right too. He is tucked in behind Darian Kaiser. He has to try and make up 3 points in the positions to see if he can beat Darian Kaiser for the top 4 honors. And of course, these are guys fighting now for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th place.
The 4th place battle last time around was all about Teddy Brooke and Justin Gillison. Gillison is now joining the party. Not a great starter. It's something he's definitely going to have to work on in his off time to get himself up in the early stages, rather than have to do these big come from behind rides. It's really hurting his chance of championships and any chance of race victories on the day. Johnny Cricker, on the other hand, has done a ton of development, done a lot of work on his starts and the opening laps, because he does build but he says he needs to work on his opening laps. He's done that. He works hand in hand with AJ Fenter, and he, at the moment, is holding off big Justy Gillison.
Justin Gillison is certainly having to work hard from behind, but first, second, and third place also having a great dice here. There's only lap number 1 of 12. We're going onto the back straight away, which means there's the back straight,
wide for
one
AJ.
chicane, and that race lap is done. Darian is gone, and he's caught onto the back end of AJ. AJ knows that he wants to come with him, and hopefully the two of them will work together to try and close in. It's 39 and 89 in second and third place, and it's 99 at the front. The battle of the nines at the front end of this field.
You know what? Bu Levy has got a chance to take a win. His lap times tell us that, but he's going to have to run, and he's going to have to do something very un-Bo-like, and that's really get into the uncomfortable zone of riding hot and hard in the first 3 laps of this race. Break the back of the 600s, and they won't be able to bridge that gap.
We mentioned the fact that from a standing start after his first lap time, Bu Levy was able to get into the 59s. He's done it again, and he's actually gone a lot quicker. 59.5 out of him in race number 1. It's a 59.3 from a standing start in race number 2, which also mentions and needs a mention of the fact that the track is hotter. Conditions are a bit warmer. The wind is still there ever so slightly. It's not quite as strong as what it was earlier, but it has picked up here and there, and there are gusts all around the track, which at this circuit, as you know, having ridden it like I have, can affect your ability to brake, can affect your ability to turn the bike if you catch a gust of wind at the wrong place.
Yeah, and it is so open. This shot actually tells the story. Fantastic camera work today, by the way, guys. They're really telling the story of where we are. It is the open plains here in Dalmas, which means the weather changes on the turn of a dice. At the same time, the wind massively affects absolutely everything. If you've got a tailwind up the highway, it pushes you all the way into that big turning braking point. At the same time, if it's in your face, you can roll out a little bit too early and completely miss braking markers. We're building up now to the race that we saw the whole way through the second half of heat number 1 of the Super M's, and Gillison has to have done his homework. He knows he has to make the pass fast and hard and early.
It's an impressive run here from Gillison as he got through on Johnny Cricker, opened up and closed, opened up the margin over Johnny Cricker, but closed the gap on Teddy Brook very rapidly. And I think he's not going to hold back this time. He knows he's got to try and get up there and not be too far back, more than 2 positions back on Bu Levy, who leads.
And it's going to be just about that as well. I don't think we're going to see Justin Gillison be able to join the top 3, but if he gets around Teddy Brook, it's going to be a heartbreaker because he'll end up losing that second place in the championship by a crumb. That's often worse than just losing it.
Yeah, it's been a hard-fought season, and you picked up on the fact that a couple of the guest riders that came in, Chris Leeson being one of them, the Joker, Nicholas Stropper being another one, and of course today Alan John Fenter being a third one in the mix, have cost Justin Gillison and other riders possibilities of scoring bigger points. In other words, the first, second, and third position points, which is 25 for a win,
numbers, yeah.
20 for a second place, and 16 for a third.
Oh, this is nice though. It's developing into a very early race, which is great news. Look at AJ Fender. It's taken him a lap and a half, but he has now tagged the back wheel of Bu Levy. But we have seen that Bu is able to do the fight off. Whether he can do the fight off and hold back AJ in the early stages, I think he can. But come round about lap 7 or 8, I think you'll just see AJ step up another level. Remember, he's got a lot of endurance in that skinny little body of his. He really has tuned himself into the longer races.
Let me just give you an indication of the kind of endurance he's used to. When we talk about what we're doing here today, it's probably about a 20 to 25 minute race every time they get on board a motorcycle, whether it's in the 600s.
Oh,
and look at that 600 carrying that corner speed and closing in on Bu Levy. But to finish what I was saying, it's a 25 odd minute lap and a race, I should say, for each of these categories. If you go to Macau, for instance, like he did and came back, that was about a half-hour race. And then if you go to Isle of Man and the senior TT that Alan John Venter raced in, 2 hours and 10 minutes on the road at an average speed of 119 miles per hour.
Yeah, you just literally have your hair on fire. So he's in that zone, he's tuned up, and he is able to run that pace. To be fair, circuit racing is just keeping the blade sharp, and he really just has to race more on the streets. If you observe the flip over where we go left and right, you can see kind of Garrick Flock style, the KTM delivers a lot of punch, so it can squat the back end and picks up the front a little bit. But what I do notice is it's slightly cumbersome, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just there's a lot of weight very high up on the KTM, and to flip hard left into hard right is not as easy as a smaller, low-slung 600 Super Sport bike.
Across the line it was 0.4. It's point nothing right there. I think we picked up on a visor, material visor across the track circuit. There looks like some bits and pieces falling off the bike, and you can see with the wind picking up, there's just debris all over the track. So yeah, a little bit of a change up here as Alan John Venter closes in on Levy. Remember, he had to try and do quite a, I wouldn't say an ugly move, but it was a forceful move to get past the KTM.
Yeah, it has to be all done on the brakes. We know that the KTM's a bit of a tank to get stopped, and Bew in these early stages is strong enough to tame the beast, but at the latter half of this race, his arms do get a little bit tired, and it is a much harder bike to ride as you get more tired. It's big, it's burly, it's heavy, and there's a lot of weight on top.
Yeah, certainly a bigger goal than the 675 Triumph that Alan John is on, and he, of course, having the fitness that he gets from Johnny Cricker, who's a bit further back in this field. The ultimate fitness man has put a massive effort into getting Alan John up to pace to run at Isle of Man TT, at Macau, and here in the SuperGP SuperM Class and in the Super 600 Class, because he was there originally this season on his 675 standard as opposed to the R that he's on today.
Love that R. The big thing for me is the way the suspension rides. The R's got the full Öhlins front and rear, and setting aside the extra engine performance and the lighter parts that come on it, the suspension is just second to none. It's out the box factory.
Little look back there to see how far back the 89 bike is of Darian Kaiser. He's not too far off, looking at about 1.2 second gap between the first three riders, but it's about 0.6 of a second to Darian from Alan John's rear. Across the line, another lap completed. We got 9 to go. And let's see whether Alan John can get in a bit closer this time. He is a lot closer. Oh, hello, speaking of closer. Here comes Gillison for a chance on Brook.
He keeps having these chances, though. He doesn't necessarily have a look. He just pulls out, but you know, you can't make a pass if you're rolling out at the same time as the guy in front of you. You've got to watch for the body language. We've seen him turn 1, we've seen him turn 2. He has a look every now and again at the final turn at the top of the hill, but it's never an aggressive one. It's just, you know, and if you're going to throw these chances away, you're literally throwing away the chance of second place. And the KTM has come strong. Bew has been racing rather than simply riding like Gilly is. Fastest lap of the race there on lap 4, coming out of Alan John Venter on the Wiesenhof Coffee's Triumph, and a great effort there for him to get that kind of lap in. A 56.693. It's very close to what his fastest lap of the weekend has been. So he's kept it right till the very end. And just able to run on the back wheel of the KTM as they go into the dog bones. And this is the area of the track where you're actually blocked. If you've got a slow rider in front of you, it's so tricky. I've come into the section a million times with a slow rider in front of me on some of the endurance races, and you just cannot make the pass. You literally have to make it. This is where I start building up, to be honest. You can sometimes climb under the rider and flip around the outside or inside, but it's here where you can start building up a pass. The 3 to 5 corners before.
How's that for a that's a pass of note.
So that was the big sweeper, the left-hander, where you click another gear, you rail around the outside, and you force the rider to sit up because you've got the line, bud. Yeah, you got the line, but unfortunately he doesn't have the power here, and he wasn't quite far enough ahead of that KTM to capitalize on that move, but he has shown intent, and he wants to get past. Just to confirm, that 56.693 is the fastest lap that Alan John has dropped this weekend. And I think that is also a new lap record for the 600 cc's here at Super M level in the SuperGP Championship Trophy at Redstar. It would have to be. It'd have to be based on the fact that Darian Kaiser has been the fastest 600 bike the whole way through the season. And unfortunately, Kaiser is getting beaten up here. But this is where he's got to go. Well. He's got to go. Here we go. You're right. This is the part of the track where you can actually beat up the higher powered bikes because they are off the throttle so much more than the 600s. The actual answer is going to come down the straight. If the KTM cannot fight back up into this turn, which is turn number 3, no, the pass is made. Visually, you could see how well that Triumph turns and corners compared to the KTM. He was pulling every single time he flipped the bike over. So to get it in where he got it done there is exactly, well, almost exactly. And he's got a good run. He waited one more corner in race number 1 to get it done. Now he's got it, and he's got a little, just that edge. Just enough. Over this, the KTM on the straight, and now into the second part of the twist, he's down in the dog bone. He is going to have a chance to get away from Bo. I've seen it many times as well in a lot of the races you know I've competed in, that you can make that pass and the person will not be able to out-drag you down the short straight. If you've got the line, you can fade left, you because that's always where they have to go. I've taken people all the way to the curb. They have to back it out.
And now what he's doing here in the second part in the dog bone is he's now opening up that little bit of a margin that he loses on the back straight. So it's just perfect timing from Alan John.
Yeah, we spotted that. It's definitely Sector 1 where the Super Sport machines are a lot hotter. Spare a thought for Darian Kaiser though. He is really battling to run pace as AJ has picked it up. You can see the gap is bigger this time around. Kaiser is in the zone though. I mean, 157 lows, but he cannot improve.
Looking at those lap times on the previous one as they come to complete this lap, there you can see AJ timed it to perfection, and that little edge that he had over all the other riders, just out of Sector 1 and out of what Bo Levy was able to do, is now giving him the chance to take the double victory if he can keep it all together. But looking at lap times, I'll wait for them to cross the line this time, but on the last time, they were all 57s. And he's gone quicker.
Yeah, he's gone even quicker.
56.429 out of
is
AJ.
in the zone. I think if he bangs another one of these, he's going to be able to stretch it out. It's very early for him to be running those kind of numbers, but he is doing a 156.4, and it's 0.4 of a second ahead of Bu Levy that lap. Normally, around about this marker...
Gillison having a big look there. Sorry to jump in.
I don't get excited about him anymore. He just looks every turn.
He does, actually. But it looked a little bit more dangerous than what we saw previously. So Gillison definitely had a bigger look.
It was the camera angle.
Probably the camera angle, yeah. I got excited, sorry. I had to try and get excited.
But it's 0.4 is the gap between our race leader, and this time it's going to grow because he's got an even bigger margin heading down the short straight. You can there. Bu is just in shot. Which means that gap will grow by another half second, because that's the advantage of these much lighter Supersport bikes, in particular the Triumph 675 Daytona R, because that thing has got a very good rail mid-corner, mid-stroke power.
That's an awesome effort there from Alan John to get ahead of Bu Levy, but Bu Levy now has to be concerned about the fact that at the moment 57.1's coming out of the KTM, 57.6 is coming out of Darian. Okay, I take that back. He doesn't have to be too concerned, but if Darian does turn the wick up ever so slightly, he can bridge that 2.4 second gap.
Yeah, Bu is just comfortable at the moment. No one likes being passed, but he knows he's been outclassed today the whole way through. But we're almost seeing the same size gap between first and second back to second and third. Still no moves from Gilly, even though he is showing a wheel at almost every single corner. Doesn't necessarily look like he's faster like we saw in Heat 1 of the Super GPs, where Clinton Sella was literally rolling out. It looks like Gilly is on the numbers, but he just doesn't have any massive advantage on every part of the track, or any part of the track, should I say. And that's exactly the same observation as you and I made in heat number 1. He's good enough, he's fast enough, he can stay with Brooke, but he's not better.
If we stay as we are right now, just to run a couple of numbers by you, Bu Levy will take second place in the championship, staying where he is, and of course that will then move him ahead of Justin Gillison by 4 points. So, sorry, by 6 points, I beg your pardon. 6 points in it there if they stay as they are right now. So it is up to Justin to get ahead of Teddy Brooke. He's got to do it.
If Justin moves ahead, that surely still holds an advantage for Bu if Bu walks away with the second place.
Yes, indeed. He will still have enough in the bag, because...
it'll be close, but it'll be what it is.
I was looking at it as they stand right now. Let's have a work it out and see what happens if he does get ahead of Teddy. But another important factor is to take, if they stay as they are right now, Darian will remain in 4th place, and that will move Teddy Brooke into 5th place on the 132 as opposed to Darian's 149.
Okay, while you work on your numbers, let me talk about AJ Fender. A lap and a half ago, he was 0.5 of a second ahead of the rest. Now he is up to 1.3 seconds. So those 2 hot laps that he's thrown in, and there were 2 back-to-backs, he has really stretched things out. And I'm watching Bu, his riding style and his body language tell me he is absolutely exhausted. He looks very uncomfortable on the machine, not the normal planted body style. He's very, not lazy, but he's very efficient on the machine, kind of Donovan Faree style, just sits there and lets the bike do its thing. But he's not able to run with the pace, and he's going to get closed in. Last time around, the gap between first and second was 1.3, and the gap between second and third, there was another 2.5 seconds. It looks to me like Kaiser may be pulling that number back.
That's what I was hoping he was going to be doing, because Darian, as we know, is also a man who tends to take a bit of a breather halfway through and then push right to the very limit. 56.421 is the fastest lap out of a 600cc at Super M level in the Super GP Champions Trophy.
And that was done on lap 7 as well. Like, so it just shows that...
It's the one where he got passed.
Yeah, it's the one where he got passed when he got into the zone. It's the sweet spot of the tires. So they're really firing nice. And I don't think we're going to see his times drop off that much. Maybe he'll lose a half a second by the end of the race, maybe.
Okay, so if they stayed as they were right now, as I said to you, there'd be a 6-point deficit that Justin Gillison finds himself after coming into this round leading Bew Levy.
But if he
does get
Brooke
ahead of Teddy, it moves down to a 4-pointer. So literally, as they are right now, it's really not going to make any difference whether Justin gets past Teddy or not. He has to get ahead of Darian Kaiser. So he's not going to have hope for something to go wrong at the front, which is highly unlikely, especially considering the fact that Darian will then finish up in 4th place in this championship. It is a valiant effort from a young man in amongst some very good riders throughout this season.
And he has been the real David against Goliath most of the season, because we're missing a lot of riders that should normally be there, and most of the riders that are missing are 1000cc heroes.
Yeah, the other 600 rider who didn't make it this weekend is Kevin Redman. He's also spent the entire season in the SuperM class, and the reason for him staying in SuperM and riding the 600cc class was to get a little bit of extra experience on all the circuits that they play at. So heads up for him next year. I'm sure we'll see him back in action. We've still got one more race to go today. As we know, the SuperGP Champions Trophy has 2 races per heat, and SuperGP Race 2 will be just after the finish up here of the SuperM's Race 2. We've got about 3 1/4 laps to go.
And I always look at the numbers on Johnny Cricker and Neil van Loggenberg. Remember, Johnny Cricker in racing has yet to come under the 2 bracket, but look how close he runs. It's a heartbreaker.
He's extremely close, eh?
I'll be tagging that the whole way through the race day and the build-up yesterday. And Johnny, I'm going to go buy him his first, I don't know, recovery shake, I think. I was going to say beer. Protein shake.
Protein shake, man. Ultimate fitness.
I'll buy him a protein shake the first time he drops under 2 minutes. That's going to be a beautiful moment for him.
Yeah, you said he's very close. The last lap was a 2:0.7. He's done a 2:0.3, so he's got to try and find about half a second to get under that magnificent 2-minute bracket here at Redstar.
And that's a nice number. It's like the guys that go under 2 minutes to Kai Lamy. It's still a long circuit. Even Clinton Seller, our reigning national superbike champion, he says it's a long lap. You are out there for days and days. At the bottom of the circuit, you can almost see Sandton City.
Christmas is coming. It's nearly here.
Isn't there a sale on at Sandton?
Yeah, there's one. I'm sure you can find something.
Well, there's one on a full throttle as well.
If you go to the
watch
top,
out for those guys.
If you go to the top of the circuit, that's one of Johnny's sponsors as well, and Alan John's sponsors. So yeah, keep an eye on that. If you go to the top of the circuit, you get to the Whitbank Mall. I think you do. Hey, let's find out from Nick Crawford from Whitbank.
Why isn't Nick here, by the way? There was a lot of Facebook chatter about him coming. You know, the pack of cards, Lance Isaacs and Brent Herron and the Joker, and I was fully expecting to see him rock up here. The Joker versus AJ. That would have been an interesting one.
Yeah. I would have loved to have seen that, actually. A little bit closer than what it is right now. Right now, it is a 3.8-second deficit that Bew Levy has got on Alan John Venter. He's got to try and make that up. He's not going to. He'll stay there knowing that second place with Justin in 5th or 4th is going to be good enough to take 2nd overall in the Super M's.
Just a little bit of a shame once again that we didn't have all of our race entries. We're probably missing 5 of the key players that have been either in and out of the championship, and that would have given us a little bit more action. But what we are seeing now, and it's what we've been hinting at the whole way through the day, is that Gillison is going to lose this championship, or 2nd place in this championship, by not going and making these 2 passes in race 1 on Teddy Brook and in race 2 on Teddy Brook. Those 2 passes could have put him back in it.
Yes, indeed. It's going to be a bit of a...
Am I right there?
100%. It's a big pity there for Justin Gillison, because, as you said, Matt, at the beginning of the season, there was a massive fight on between himself, Bew Levy, and, of course, Janine Davies. Yeah. Janine Davies, we wish you a very, very speedy recovery after the big crash at qualifying yesterday, and the broken wrist. I'm sure it's going to be a speedy recovery and get onto the bike as soon as possible, prepping for 2015.
I know, I had to do that. Couldn't remember if we were going into 2015 or 2016 for a second there. Goodness me. Yeah, all right, so AJ Fenter, the lead is astronomical right now. It is a 4.7-second gap to go back and pick up on Bew Levy. Kaiser is another 4 seconds off the back of that, and then you've got to go another 6 seconds to pick up on these guys. And Teddy Brook has got a manageable gap. There is our race leader with a lap and a half remaining in this race. AJ Fenter, today on this bike, untouchable.
Oh, he made a little mistake as you said that, and he gave him a commentator's curse, Nelly.
How many times do I give him a kiss of death?
He's got enough time in the bag, though, to make that kind of mistake. It's going to be pretty interesting. We've mentioned about record breaking right the way through this in terms of Alan John Venter, and it's something I will bring up probably on the podium to say, you know, he was the first 600 super sport bike out of SuperM Class to get a pole. He's been the first win for Triumph. It's the first win for a 600. It's the first double for a 600. And he's broken the lap record. What a perfect weekend here for the Wiesenhof Coffee House Triumph SA 675 Daytona.
And as you mentioned, Triumph SA, Big Boss is here as well.
He is indeed.
Making notes.
He's loving life
over a bottle of beer, but making notes nonetheless.
I'm happy that Arnold's here, because he actually mentioned it to me after getting on the podium. He says, yes, Kawasaki might have taken everything, but I'm happy to take the double here at Super M and show what potential my bike has for next year.
All right.
Fighting words inside KMSA there, buddy.
And we have been talking about AJ and a couple of circuits that really suited his style, and particularly the Durban Street Circuit. It really did suit his style, but not the bike that he was on at the time. By his admission and by Triumph SA's admission, they needed more.
And they've got more. And with the new rules for 2015, it's going to give them a chance to run the 675R version of the Daytona. So that's why he's here in Super M. The development has worked. Everything they've tried and looked at and changed has definitely come to the forefront. And I think, look out Kawasaki, look out Yamaha next year. Triumph might be in the house.
You know what I was looking for in this category in particular? More of the twins. We've got a ton of Ducati Panigales. Every time I blink, there's a new one of those being bought and sold, and in track prep as well. So we really should see more twins entering this category as well. And we pray that the calendar shows no Swiss cheese holes next year, and that we can get the guys in.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing some more twins come and play. One of them, in fact, our good friend there from Bike SA magazine, also a big supporter of the SuperGP Champions Trophy. That's Donovan Faree. He's taken back-to-back titles in his bots series. So now that he's been there and done the double, it's now time to come and play and maybe just step up the competition
I'm going to throw out to Don Faree. You've got to get here, man. I'll train you. I'll work out the diet. We'll get this thing done. Because you know what? Every time I see him and Bu race, they have a cracking time.
Yeah, they do.
So that's
exactly
the pace. That's the pace and the class of racing that you will see.
Go and chuck in Thomas Brown as well. And
Brown,
other guys.
Tommy Gunn's got good this year.
It'll be phenomenal stuff.
Tommy Gunn has got very
Look at that. Looking down the back straight twice, 3 times, 4 times he's looked down the back straight, and only now sees Bu Levy come into sight. This has been a phenomenal weekend for this young man, coming off a 15th overall at the Macau Grand Prix.
That's a mini celebration
and also
there. Slow as you like.
And a massive effort at the Isle of Man TT. This is the way to end the season. Thank you very much, Triumph South Africa. I'm going to take a double on the day. Not a great wheelie, but he isn't a good wheelie as it is. But he'll take the double on the day. And that is record-breaking stuff right the way through.
Yeah.
Pole position, first Supersport bike. First race win for a Triumph. Double on the day for the Triumph. And a new lap record for the 600s in Super M.
All good numbers, but realistically, he's a professional down to the core. And all he's doing is saying, I've got a relatively good package to start things off and develop this bike even more so I can try and run and beat Odendahl. That's what he wants. We've crowned a champion. There is a man with a target on his back, and all these guys are now looking towards next season and the middle of March, where we will be starting our first round once again in the 2015 Monster Energy Super GP Champions Trophy. And there are going to be a lot more players out there. The pace will be a ton higher, if we can go any higher, and a couple more manufacturers trying to tag podiums and wins at each round. But as Greg Maloney steps out to go and speak to the lads and get some reaction, we'll just enjoy the victory lap of the man that has been untouchable on the weekend at the final round of the Super M's. AJ Fenter and the Triumph 675R. Bu Levy has done the business. His second place, or more importantly, his second place ahead of Justin down in 5th, has given him second place in the championship. AJ Fenter, confirmation, provisional results coming out of race number 2. A 4.5 second lead over Bu Levy. It was Triumph 675R versus KTM RC8 1190. Darian Kaiser, first of the Kawasaki ZX6s, and that bike has been a machine the whole way through the year, really ousting a lot of big guns. Teddy Brook stays in his 4th place, 4th for the day, ahead of Justin Gillison, who will be kicking himself, but was beaten on the day and in the championship and will now move down into 3rd place. Johnny Cricker, he threw some good numbers in there. He got 6th place ahead of Neil van Loggenberg on the day, but both those riders yet to claw their way under the magical 2-minute bracket. The riders should be cruising their way in, and I'm going to look for Greg down in the podiums And we'll get some reactions from these guys before we start building up into our what would be live crossing and into our feature race, heat number 2 of the Super GPs. The good news is, as we are on our cool down lap here for the second race of the Super M's, conditions are absolutely perfect out there. A lovely tailwind down the start finish straight as we run into the clockwise section of the circuit. Yeah, I got you, Greg. If you're down there, you can.
Well, we can chat a little bit, Matt, between you and I, because I can hear in my earpiece here, but they're not quite around. I think the celebrations are getting underway. But remember, we're also not only going to do 1, 2, and 3 here for second race. We're also going to be crowning and officially crowning our Super M champion with his trophy and some celebrations. I'm sure they're going to be enjoying life up here with us. He wasn't quite on the podium as expected because he decided to step up to Super GP, but nonetheless, Carl is here to join us to enjoy the celebrations with Bu Levy, who's going to take second place in this championship and second on the road here for the second time today. He steps in here on the Motos Clarkstorp KTM RC8, and this big 1190's been working hard out there with some 675s and 600s. We're still waiting for the 2 600s to get in here as well. By the sounds of things coming in there pretty shortly. Just looking behind me over the top, it's Johnny Cricker who comes in, and waiting for AJ and Darian to come and join us in the winner's circle, so to speak. Here they come. The first one is Kaiser, Uncle Andy's RNA, DNA, ANA, and of course, a good effort out there, my boy. Hey? Exactly, you're going to run me over. That's nice, eh? But he's a happy man, as you can see. He always is. No matter where he finishes on a motorcycle, he's a happy man to be on the bike and having fun. AJ is in the house as well. He comes in to take another first place here today. We're going to speak to him about some records that were set here today. And hopefully we can get that bike in here onto first place. We've got some champions to crown. We've got some race winners to crown here at race 2 of Super M. So let's kick things off and get them out there and onto the podium as soon as possible. Darren taking his gloves off. Going to get the helmet off quickly there, Dazzler, for us, so we can get this podium done and dusted and start to look forward to our final race of 2014 in the Monster Energy Super GP Champions Trophy. So third, ooh. Well, hold, Chris. I'm glad you got a big left hand there, buddy. Thanks for helping, AJ. Much appreciated, eh? Like you had to do all the work on the bike and you just leave the guy to pick him up with one hand. He must go to Ultimate Fitness Gym. I think Chris goes to Ultimate Fitness Gym to work out. Just a readjustment quickly on that track stand. Oh, Gugulicious helping us here as well. Thank you, Gugu. That's the way we do it. Let's get them up on the podium now. In third place for Uncle Andy's Racing, DNA Motorcycles on a Kawasaki ZX6. And the final third place of the year for the Super M category. That goes to the Dazzler, Darian Kaiser. Second place in race 1, second place in race 2. That gives him second place in the championship as well, on the second spot on the podium. Moto KTM, it's a great effort there from the man from Clarkstorp, Bu Levy. And on top of the podium for race number 2, on board the Auto Armour Wiesenhoff Coffee's Triumph 675 Daytona R, AJV Alan John Fenter. We're going to get the new Super M champion to join them as well and join Alan John on the top step because that's exactly where he deserves to be. He had some duties to do earlier on. Let's get him up there and give a big round of applause to your Super M champion for 2014, Carl Robinson. Sharing the top step there with AJ today. There's enough space to squeeze in. You guys are not that big. Oh, we're going to get the youngster. Come. Oh, we're definitely going to get you up there, man. Don't you worry. Don't you worry, we'll get you on top. Don't even worry about that. That's what it's all about. Yes, indeed. Big round of applause. It's a family affair here, folks. That's the way we like to see it. Brilliant stuff. Third place on the day and in the second race today, I should say, going to Darian Kaiser. Going to be handed out by Mrs. Lee Watson from Gas Sports. Great job, Daz. That's an awesome effort there. Second place, and yes, very fitting to have KTM in the house with Vaughan Swanepoel doing some a bit of marketing for the Super Juniors, but hands it to a KTM rider as well, Bu Levy. Thanks, Vorg. It's nice to have Vorg back in the mix as well. Great to have him in, and for 2015 too. And first place going to be handed out by Mr. Wayne Riddell from Motorsport South Africa to Alan John Fenter. That leaves us with one more trophy to hand out. It's the first time this trophy is going to be handed out as well. Great to see an effort put in, and he stepped up to Super GP today with that very fast mustache. You go, Mo. First place and your champion for 2014, handed up by Mr. Anthony Lata to Carl Robinson. All right. Yes, Darian, hold him, boy, hold him. Oh, in the face, in the face, in the face. Go get him, AJ. Just watch the camera, guys, watch the camera. Yes, indeedy. Okay, Carl, don't go too far away. I know you got to go do some duty, so pull in here quickly. Let's get Carl as quickly as we can here, Reinhardt.
Yeah, I won't be in the next.
Oh, you're not going out? Oh, that's a big, big pity to hear. Right from the word of the mouth there, and unfortunately not going to go out for the second race. The Super GP is just a bit too much damage.
Yeah, we actually cracked the frame in that high side in the first heat, so it's over for this year, but it's been a great year.
It certainly has. And listen, both Matt and I have been touting the fact that by the time you won this championship, you could run with the big boys, and you've shown us that you can. Is that what your plans are for next year now?
Yes, if I can get some decent sponsors aboard, I'll definitely go into Super GP and see if I can keep up with the younger boys.
I think we're going to look forward to that. Well done and congratulations on the championship. I know it was already done last time out, but nice to get the trophy and go home with it now and celebrate. Have a great Christmas. Well done, buddy. Awesome job. Let's get Darian in here. I don't know where he disappeared to. There he is. He's a sneaky, sneaky little guy, hey? I think bring Andy in as well. Bring him here. Come on. In you come, Andy. You put in an awesome effort here. And I think we've got to get Andy in here too, because this is what it's all about at the final round. Man alive, you had to work hard out there. Unfortunately, I think the temperature got to you a little bit because it was really hot and the tyres took a bit more strain than what they did in the first heat. But third again, that's the way to go, and looking good for 2015.
Yeah, you know, race 2, the tyres definitely played a big factor. Sort of went off towards the end, but so the heat got to me a bit. So definitely good things for 2015. Train a bit harder for next year. We should be there. So yeah, so then just a huge thanks to Mr. Uncle Andy himself, and then to Uncle Andy Racing, of course, ANA Distributors, RNA Distributors, and DNA Motorcycles. And also thanks to Gaz for putting on something that's actually quite spectacular. Again, thank you guys so much, and thank you to all my friends and family and my dad for everything else. So thank you guys so much.
He also wanted to thank his mom and his ballet teacher as well, but didn't get there. Andy, you've had a phenomenal season, not only with this young man, but with your entire team all the way through. Looking forward to 2015 and coming to join us again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a learning year. It's awesome. We had fun. And thanks, guys. Thanks to the riders. They put in huge effort. Thanks to the organisers, Gas. And we'll be there. We're doing well in endurance. So we'll come and make a name here as well. Thank you.
Awesome to see. Well done, Andy. Great job. Let's get Bu in here as well, because he had to work hard out there. You looked like it was all good. Once again, that whole shot was phenomenal, but unfortunately just couldn't keep AJ out at the end. Didn't need to, though, because behind you it was all going wrong, unfortunately, for Justin. And you've beaten him by my account, and this is provisional, of course, by about 6 points.
Yes, I'm very happy for that. We started the year ending 11th, 10th, 9th, 8th, and we started our second half of the year. We got the bike ride. I got myself back to it after 14 years off, so I'm extremely stoked. I'm happy. Thanks for all my support, all my Gavin and my wife and everybody, and yeah, now looking forward to next year on a new machine maybe.
I think you need to go and have a chat to that guy over there in the orange tent and see whether or not we can maybe squeeze him for a bit more factory support too.
Yes, that'll help a lot, yeah, but yeah, KTM's got the 390 Cup next year, so I think we're going to focus on that. I'll help them with that, even if I ride a different brand. I'm bringing 4 new riders to Super M next year, so we're looking forward to the having a new season next year.
Brilliant stuff, and congratulations on second place in Super M for 2014.
Thanks a lot.
Awesome job there from Bu Levy. AJ, it was a case of you coming here today after Macau, and you were kind of looking at a development. Let me just give you a little indication as to what happened this weekend. First pole for Supersport. First race win for Supersport. First race win for Triumph. First double for Triumph, and a new lap record in the 600s. Is that a perfect weekend or what?
Yeah, I'm over the moon, Greg. Big thank you to Triumph, to Arnold, We had a new sponsor on board this weekend in Auto Armour. Maybe it was the luck of them. You know, they all came here to watch today. So big thank you to my team, my dad, Chris, John, my trainer. You know, everyone's worked very hard this year. Now we've ridden the Super M bike, and the times are good. You know, we're moving forward, and I'm happy with that.
I think that's the way to go for 2015. It was part of your plan this weekend. But in terms of maybe just throwing something out there for a challenge for next year, the Daytona R seems to have the pace, buddy. You got down into the very low 56s.
Yeah, Craig, I'm very, very happy with the times. I still think there's a lot of room for improvement, as any rider would say. So I think next year the Triumphs will be challenging at the front. So we've had a year this year where we've learnt and we've bit our teeth and done what we needed to do. And I think next year we'll move forward.
Plans for AJV Racing is also looking pretty big for next year. A couple of riders coming to join you, not only at nationals and at regional level, but even internationally too.
Yeah, we've got some big plans. There's a big announcement coming probably now at the end of the month. A few big things happening at the TT next year. More of a South African involvement, if I can put it that way. And then Macau again. Macau's on the cards. And yeah, watch the space.